I've just bought myself this new home cinema projector, and today I'm going to be trying it out for the first time. As you can see, it is an Anker Nebula Cosmos 4K SE, and this is the first time I've bought a home cinema projector in over 10 years. So I'm interested to see how much the technology has improved or changed over that time. Now, this one cost me £900. That isn't the official price. That's the price for a refurbished model direct from Anker themselves. The official UK price is £1,300, but currently, at the time I'm making this recording, you can find these for £1,100 brand new because there's a £200 off voucher being offered by Anker. Now, obviously, you don't buy something this expensive without doing a bit of research, and I've been doing just that. I've read through loads of different reviews and they've all been overwhelmingly positive for this particular model. Right, lift this out. Oh, it's got some weight to it. Not too much though. Yeah, feels solid. Now you can see at the bottom here, we've got YouTube, Netflix and Prime Video as hotkeys. It has stereo speakers, one either side, 15 watts a piece, which I believe sound very good from what the other reviews say. We've got two HDMI sockets, which is essential for what I'm planning on, which is plugging a Blu-ray player into HDMI 1 and an Apple TV into HDMI 2. But now, as far as features that this doesn't have, well, it doesn't have a battery built in. It's not a rechargeable device. It's strictly run from mains power only. And another feature that some people might be looking for is an optical zoom, and it doesn't have that either, although of course you can adjust the image via various means, the simplest one of which would be positioning it closer or further away from the screen to adjust the size of the display. Just wanted to go through a few of the specs on this. So first off, the light is produced with a hybrid system, a laser plus LED light system, which has a 30,000 hour life on it, so that seems sufficient. The box does boast though that produces 1800 ANSI lumens of light output, and whilst it does, that only applies to the conference mode, and you wouldn't tend to be using a projector in your home in conference mode. So the mode you're more likely to set this to, your kind of home cinema ones or Dolby Vision, that kind of stuff, it's going to be more between 1300 and 1400 lumens output produced in those, which is why when it says on here it can produce an image of up to 200 inches, you should perhaps take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because yeah, in theory it could, but you probably wouldn't want to. You'd have to have a completely blacked out room, you'd have to have the projector a long way back, but in addition to that, the image wouldn't be perhaps bright enough for many people. You're much better off with a screen that is a little bit more modest, you know, maybe like 100, 150 inch maybe as a maximum. But yeah, probably won't go all the way to 200 inch. With this particular projector, I think you need something with a bit more light output for that. And it does support 4K, HDR10, HLG and Dolby Vision HDR. Should mention though that for gamers, it only goes up to 4K 60. It doesn't support 120. One thing that isn't on the box is 3D. And when this came out, it didn't support 3D, but there was a firmware update, which was promised from the beginning, and that did introduce the ability of it to support 3D. So that's with DLP link glasses, active shutter. So I've got some of those somewhere. I'll dig them out, see if they still charge up, and perhaps give that a go as well. Okay, so at my end, it's almost a week on now since the last section that you saw, and in this time, I've been getting familiar with the projector, trying all its different settings, getting things just how I want. Of course, I've been watching some things on it as well. And I've also been trying to find the best position for it in this room. Now, it's great that it's got these speakers either side, because that makes it an all-in-one device. Pretty much essential to put those on something like this for quick impromptu sessions, just plonking this thing down on a table. You've got your audio, your video, you're all set to go. However, in my use, I found that it wasn't an awful lot of use, because to really appreciate the sound quality, you'd have to kind of have it dead center in front of you, so you got the proper stereo effect. I found having it to either side, which is what I'm doing in here when I'm testing it, it just sounded a little bit odd, as it did with it behind me. But of course, you've got options. You can send the audio out of this via Bluetooth to either speakers or a set of headphones. You've got a 3.5mm jack on the back of this as well. You can connect that up to surround sound system. Of course, it's going to be in stereo, but yeah, there's things you can do other than use the built-in speakers. However, if you do use these, they sound really nice. They've got a good rich sound quality to them, plenty of bass, really pretty nice speakers. And in fact, you can just use this as a Bluetooth speaker setup. You can send the audio to this device as well as sending it out of it. It would be a pretty expensive Bluetooth speaker set if that's all you used it for. But yeah, there are plenty of options. My intention with regards to the audio was not to send it out over Bluetooth or use the built-in speakers, but instead to route the audio via HDMI using EARC, and it would go off to an Apple TV, which then had the duty of sending that off to a pair of HomePods. And I'm happy to say that that setup is working perfectly. Whether I'm watching the Apple TV apps or the Blu-ray that's plugged into the other HDMI or the built-in Google TV apps, all the audio is coming out through the HomePods, and it really sounds pretty good as well. But talking of Bluetooth, it's perhaps worth me mentioning that the little backlit remote control that came with the projector communicates with it over Bluetooth, so you don't need to point it at an infrared receiver. In addition to this, in my setup, it's operating all the functions of the Apple TV as well. The only one it's not doing is the Blu-ray, which I've got a separate one for that. It's not that I haven't used the Google TV though. In fact, you have to, because that's the operating system for the projector. So whilst I've used the apps, which many of course are duplicates of the ones on the Apple TV, you have to actually wait for the thing to boot up ever so slightly before you can operate any of the functions of the projector, get into the settings and things, because that's all within the same interface. I found all the setting and adjustment menus to be really quite intuitive though. I never struggled to find anything that I wanted to. Some of the ones I needed to find were under advanced menus, but that was just to keep things tidy. It's all there if you go looking. One feature I immediately deactivated though was the image smoothing stuff. That's perhaps the only cryptic setting, as it's under a menu labelled MEMC, which stands for Motion Estimation Motion Compensation. I think it's a standard terminology. Perhaps we'll see it more in the future. Now, it's factory set though to medium, and of course that gives everything that weird artificial soap opera look. So yeah, that got switched off. With the projector having Google TV built in, you can also use apps like Kodi or VLC to play videos off a USB stick. I attached up a small SSD to mine and tried a few MKVs without any issue. It also played AVIs just fine, of course. The USB supports NTFS and FAT32 file systems, but if you want to play from a drive that you've formatted as exFAT, you can via the MX Player app. Now, the throw distance calculator on Projector Central is always really handy when it comes to choosing a projector, just to see if it's going to work in your space. For example, with this one, you put this into the calculator and it tells you that for a 95-inch screen, which is what I've got here, this projector has to be 2.52 meters away in order for the image to fill it up. That's 8 foot 3 inches, which is the same as the current world's tallest man, Sultan Kozan. Now, there are two main reasons why I chose this particular projector, the Anker Nebula Cosmos 4K SE, over its predecessor, which doesn't have the SE suffix, but can now be found cheaper than this one. And the first of those reasons is this one has two HDMI sockets on the back. The other one just had one, which of course enables me to attach up the Blu-ray, the Apple TV. But also this supports EARC, the other one didn't. Reason number two, this one has better automatic one-touch setup capabilities than that one. I just like the idea of being able to move this projector around, and then with the click of one button, it automatically sets itself up for its new location. To make these adjustments, it uses a time of flight sensor as well as projecting a grid image on the screen, and then it automatically adjusts so that that image is in focus as well as lined up with the edges of the screen. And this all takes just a few seconds. And to me, this is the feature that's proved invaluable with this particular projector, because I've tried it all over the place. I've had it on the left side of the room, the right side, various different heights. I've put it on this desk and adjusted the height of that as well. And in the end, I settled for it being on the shelf behind me, and it's working just fine up there. That's where it's staying for the moment anyway. I just like having the flexibility of changing these things around. Now, of course, whilst the auto screen fit stuff is really very clever and works the vast majority of the time, it's not perfect. One of the features it's got is an automatic object avoidance. That's if you've got something between the projector and the screen and it's going to be casting a shadow on it, it moves the image away from that, so it shrinks down the image and puts it somewhere else on the screen. In my case, when I was moving it around, it said object avoided, and it squashed the screen down a few times. And I'm trying to think, what did you see? I couldn't see anything between you and the screen. I would have preferred it if I could switch that setting off. So it didn't do the object avoidance. It left it full screen, and then I could see the shadow of the thing and then move it out of the way. But unfortunately, the two things are linked together. Now, as for that auto fit, it works really well, but it can't work miracles. You do need to have your image lined up roughly with the screen. That grid pattern has to be visible in the center of it for the system to work. The light from the projector needs to spill over the edges of the screen by at least 10% for the auto fit system to have something to work with. But perhaps I should mention that if you have your projector so close to the screen that the image can't fill the whole of the space, well, it doesn't have the magical ability to stretch the image out. No, it's down to you to make sure you get the projector far enough away. Now, with the projector located here, it's getting towards the limits of its distance from the screen before you have to start adjusting things manually. Under 4 meters, it can automatically readjust. Over that, it's a bit touch and go. Of course, at any distance you can do manual adjustments yourself, and you might find that you need to do those to tweak things ever so slightly, but I've found that more often than not, if it gets things wrong, I just press the automatic configuration button again, and it tends to get it right on the second go. Now, at the distance away from the screen I had the projector when it was up on the shelves at the back there, that was far enough away to be able to produce a 150-inch image. And of course, it's then squashing that down to fit this 95-inch screen, which then got me thinking that perhaps that's compromising the image quality too much, and I get a much better image if I was to put the projector more in the position where it's supposed to be for a screen of this size. So I put it on my height adjustable desk, which is behind me, and it's just up there at the moment. And I've got to say, I haven't really noticed any drastic difference in quality. I mean, that could well be down to the quality of my eyes or the content that I was watching, but no, I'm happy with it in either position. The projector can do 3D. It supports side-by-side, over and under, and frame packed. I dug out some active 3D glasses, charged them up and tried it out, and I'm happy to say that it works just fine. If you want to watch your 3D Blu-ray movies, this seems like a decent option. Gotta say, I forgot how dodgy the computer-generated Jeff Bridges looked in this. It's like something off a PlayStation 3. Now, in the previous video, I misremembered the size of my lounge television. I said it was a 75-inch, it's actually a 77-inch. But what that means is that compared to this 95-inch screen, that 77-inch screen is 19% smaller diagonally, but it's actually 34% smaller when it comes to the overall screen area. But yeah, of course, an OLED TV has a projector beaten on black levels, colour intensity, contrast and brightness, and you can watch a TV with the lights on in the room. The images on the projector never seem to go truly black. It doesn't get to that inky black dark level that an OLED can. The rainbow effect is sometimes noticeable on the projector. If there's a large bit of white text that's displayed against a black background and I were to dart my eyes quickly across the screen, I could see it briefly. But That's also something that I've noticed on all the DLPs that I've had, but it's never really bothered me on any of them, although I do know that some people seem to be particularly negatively affected by that. It's just fortunately I'm not one of them. But yeah, you sacrifice the picture quality of an OLED to get the bigger image of a projector. It's a trade-off. Now, I will mention one thing. With having the projector there, the sound of it isn't annoying. It's a very quiet projector as far as like the fan noise goes. I mean, of course, you can have different pitches of fan noise, and sometimes they can be quite quiet, but a bit whiny at the same time. You really notice those. This is a kind of very low down note. In fact, my air conditioner makes more of a noise than this, and it's further back in the room. So yeah, as soon as you get the sound on, you really don't notice it at all. Now, of course, I will be putting some rather over-optimistic Amazon affiliated links in the video description, so I get a bit of a kickback if anyone clicks through to buy a Anker Nebula Cosmos 4K SE. But I would suggest don't just go straight there. I mean, see what the price is, but also go and have a look on the Anker website. They might be offering some kind of discount codes. I've seen that quite a few times. So in summary, I would say if you're thinking of getting a projector, well, think long and hard about it. I mean, you've got to perhaps also think about the screen and make sure you use that throw distance calculator with your shortlist to see if the projector that you're thinking of getting would work in your environment, and also set your expectations at a certain level to start with. I mean, I didn't set out with the expectation of making the perfect home cinema. I set out with creating something in the space that I got, reusing some of the equipment I'd already bought in the past. And I'm surprised about how well this has worked out for me. Normally when I try things like this, I'm a bit underwhelmed, but with this one, it's done really well, and I'm very happy. But of course, that doesn't mean that's the end of it. I'm going to be testing other things out with regard to projectors. I mentioned last time I got a very cheap one, and I'll be interested to see how that compares to this. So there's plenty more to come on things like this, but for the moment, as it stands, if nothing changed, I'd be very happy with the way that this one's worked out. Anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.